What's going on, everybody? Ryan the Mighty Quinn here, the Cornerman _MMA, UFC Vegas 61 in the books. Main event left a lot of people talking between Mackenzie Dern and uh, Yan. Sorry, I want to pronounce her first name correctly. I never do. It's Yan. Um, Yan won the majority decision. A lot of people were left thinking that it was a draw. Personally, when I was watching, I felt that I wasn't emotionally invested. I was actually watching something else. I was catching up on House of the Dragon while I had the fight on my laptop. So I was kind of flipping back and forth. From what I saw, I thought Mackenzie had done enough to win. But I even when they were in the middle, I wasn't like I could see them kind of going the other way. I wasn't gonna him and haw over this one, you know. So just from what I saw, I thought Mackenzie was doing enough to win. I saw her using some striking. I saw her get in trouble a couple times. She was kind of forcing grappling, I felt. Um, but then they gave the majority decision to Jan. So that leaves everyone thinking it should have been a draw, should have been a draw. So what is a draw exactly in mixed martial arts? That's what we're going to discuss here today. We're going to start right at the top. We're going to read how to score a 10-10 round. This is another thing that people need to realize. Sometimes a draw is not an overall fight. You can have a fighter, especially in a 5-round fight. You could each fighter win 2 rounds and then 1 round is a tie. It's not like it's every round is 10-10-10-10-10-10-10. You know, like that's usually how these go about. That's usually how these draws take. It's very rare to have an even round in total, you know, let alone 5 of them, you know. So people got to keep that in mind too when they're scoring this. Oh, but she scored this here, but she scored this there, you know. But yeah, okay, they probably won that round, but then they lost the next round. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. All right, let's go right to the unified rules. The following objective scoring criteria shall be utilized by the judges when scoring a round. All right, right at the top, and this is all we're going to read, just one sentence. A round is to be scored as a 10-10 round when both contestants have competed for whatever duration of time in the round, and there is no difference or advantage between either fighter. Okay, now let's go back up to let me pull this back up here. So let's go back up to what we were saying. Now, a couple of examples here. All right. I want you to keep in the back of your head of famous UFC draws, famous draws in the UFC. You got Tyron Woodley versus Stephen Thompson. Then you got John Fitch versus one always me. Why is more important? We're going to go over a couple. We're going to go over another one in a second, but I want to go over these first. These are important because they were very even. You know, the rounds were particularly even. There was no 1-10-8 round where the other fighter had to win double rounds to catch up. Okay, so when nothing is going on, that's when stuff is scored. We're gonna get into that part based on what we've learned from Big John and the commissioners in a minute. Now, what's another example of a famous draw? I have Frankie Edgar versus Gray Maynard, but that goes in the direction that I was saying, where I remember Frankie got 10-8 round. Gray won a 10-8 round in round 1, but then Frankie went on to win 3 consecutive rounds, I believe, and lost the 3rd round or lost the 5th round. So it's been a while, but that's an example of a draw that is like that. You know, I could see why that's a draw. Okay, he needs to play makeup. You know, the 2 that I said before, including the one last night that one of the judges scored a draw. Nobody was playing makeup here. Now, how do you win? How do you tie in a round? How do you draw? We're going to start with what John McCarthy told us. Okay, so first thing we try to score is effective striking / grappling. We're either going to focus on one or the other. Now, whatever happens more, if there's more striking in the round, we're going to focus on that for the scoring. If there's more grappling, we're going to focus on that for the scoring. In the fights I mentioned, now, this is what was particular about the fights I mentioned prior with Woodley, Thompson, BJ Penn, and John Fitch. Now, very contrasting styles, okay, especially Thompson and Woodley. So what happens in those contrasting styles, fighters are scared to let loose. They're very cautious on what to do. So a lot less happens than a normal fight. So there's a lot less to score more than there being more to score in a mixed martial arts bout. So that's why those rounds are scored that way, because there's a lot less to happen to make the even. It's not like so much is happening where it's like there's nothing, for lack of a better word, there's nothing to score. Okay, That's why those draws are scored in that, and those draw rounds are scored in that sense. BJ Penn, known for his grappling, but has the heavy hands. Where John Fitch tries to take people down, lay on top. Again, well, BJ Penn he kind of gassed in that fight, so that's not a great example, as I was saying. But the Thompson Woodley fight's a prime example of what a draw is scored like. And again, both those guys, I believe, won rounds definitively in those fights. That's a while ago. So based on John's scoring, it's like, so one person's trying to grapple but hit the other guy's striking, nullified it. Not enough happened to score it either way for an exchange. Okay, so where do we go from there? Now we're going back to our conversations with Mike Mazzulli of the Mohegan Sun Commission and Andy Foster of the California State Athletic Commission. Now we have our damage duration, or damage dominance duration. Okay, we can't decide. If there was who won the striking exchange, who won the grappling exchange. So we go down, we see the damage. If there's no damage scored, tiebreaker, a draw. It's a draw on the damage. We got to go down to the next one. I'm not going to get into what that is. We've gone over all that stuff. You can go back on previous videos I've had to explain the damage duration, dominance. Now the next one we go down is dominance. Was enough dominance scored? Okay, again, usually in these instances, because someone's trying to push their grappling, the other person's trying to push their striking, or people are just getting nullified, nobody's going to get dominated if this is the tiebreaker. So that's funny how that's kind of the middle one. That if there's no dominance if we have to use this as a tiebreaker, right? That's something to think about till now. And duration, who's controlling the cage? So like John pointed out, who's controlling the center of the fight? Is somebody prodding forward? Or is someone prodding forward? Is somebody keeping them at bay with their jab? That would be the duration, or who's landing on top, stuff like that. So now, has any of that happened? Now, if none of that has happened, if there hasn't been a significant amount of striking landed, there hasn't been a significant amount of grappling landed, there hasn't been damage, there hasn't been duration, there hasn't been dominance, we got to draw. We have to go on to the next round. We're hoping in a 3-round fight that the next 2 rounds are going to decide a winner here. And usually that stinks for I guess there's really no fun time for a judge to score a draw, right? Oh man, I hope that one guy wins both of the next rounds if it's a draw in the first round. Oh man, or what if it was, the crowd's getting into it, and then one guy won the first round, one guy won the second round, then there's a draw in the third, there's an even third round. Very tough here. So that's more or less how we do it, guys. Remember, it's a whole draw tiebreaker system to avoid these, but unfortunately it does happen. So we got to establish significant striking or submission or significant grappling. And after that, who laid the most damage within that confine if we haven't been able to establish striking or grappling dominance. Then we have the dominance, like I said, and that should be taken out, but who dominated more without damage or striking. Then we have the duration, who pushed the fight the most to win in order to use that tiebreaker. But that's what I got, guys. I hope that was helpful. I would love to hear how you scored the fight at UFC Vegas 61 between Mackenzie Dern and Jan. And again, just remember, it's not the draw of a whole fight. It's the draws on a round system. It's probably more common to see draws in 5-round fights than 3-round fights, but draws aren't common as it is. Anyway, that's what I got. Please like, subscribe, and share. I will see you during the week on Tuesday and Thursday. Thank you.